Yay!
You look so cute, all done up and stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Uh, So please introduce us to yourself.
I know my name is a little bit complicated sometimes, so it's easier sometimes if I introduce myself. My name is Kienia Green. I am a Houstonian, but I am a native of Port Arthur, Texas.
Awesome, awesome. And what do you do?
I am an instructional technologist. That sounds really fancified, but what I do is I help to get content online for teachers, help them to integrate technologies in their classroom. I can make online courses, anything tech. I help people use it in their everyday lives in school or for training in corporations.
How long have you been doing that for?
Oh, honestly, I've actually been doing it since about 2003. It's crazy how it all happened because I majored in computer science. I went to Wiley College. I graduated in 2002. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to go into programming like right off. I kind of had gotten burned out. I'd done it all through high school, all 4 years, and then I did it 4 years in college. And I was like, okay. So I met my mentor, Regina Owens, at Marshall High School, and I was hired on with her. And she kind of created this position. And this was before instructional technology really became a thing. I didn't even know it was a actual job until about like 2006 when I started to look at moving down to the Houston area. And I found a master's program at University of Houston Clear Lake. And that's it. So I've really honestly been doing it since about 2003.
That's so cool that you got into that.
It's awesome. It's a good marriage of my tech skills and my desire to help teachers with education and fix some of the problems that we see in our educational community. So it lets me do both.
So your business has been booming during the pandemic then.
Actually, yes and no. There is a great need for folk like me. But as far as doing contract work, I haven't really been doing it as much because I'm also in graduate school working on my doctorate. So yeah, I'm kind of doing a
How do
lot.
you
And
have time to do anything?
no, I do some side jobs that I can pick up that just allow me to do some little extra to get a little extra cash. But I'm really focusing on, because I'm in the dissertation phase. So I'm supposed to be writing, right? I'm supposed to be writing.
Then I'm definitely not going to take up too much more of your time. Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, you're
So
okay. Look, I procrastinate. It's all right.
oh no. Okay. So other than doing that, you also model as well. What got you into modeling?
I've actually been interested in modeling since I was a little girl. I grew up in a holiness family, so that means we didn't really show a lot of skin. We didn't party a whole lot. You know, a lot of those different things that is considered secular, we didn't do. But I'd always been interested in fashion. However, I knew there was a caveat. Because of my beliefs, I did not want to be buck naked anywhere. You know, that's just not me. I don't do that. So I didn't really try to go the traditional route. I'm also kind of short. I'm really only about 5'5". It does not necessarily
Really?
look like it. Yes.
You look so tall.
I fake the funk, and it's the way the body is made. I actually am long in the legs, but short in stature. So, and I honestly don't go anywhere without at least a pair of 3 to 4 inch heels on. Yeah, once I was able to start wearing heels in the 10th grade, I never stopped. So, you know, it's kind of my thing. But in 2012, when I was here in Houston, I met a young lady. She's actually an artist. It's Sheree Laree. And she was modeling in the Houston area. And she took me along on one of the calls, the model calls. And it just went on from there. It's something that I always wanted to do and just wanted to try. And I hadn't been in an area where I really could. I did work with a gentleman, Tommy, when I was in Marshall, just doing and dabbling with some stuff there. But it really kicked off when I moved down here to Houston. So I really do a lot of trade for because I do it for fun. I like being in front of the camera. I get to see what other people see of me. Because, you know, we all have our issues with self. It just is what it is. It's part of being a woman in this world. And you don't, sometimes you don't really know what you look like to other people until you actually see the product. And I've worked with some phenomenal photographers here in the area. They've all been really great. Some awesome makeup artists. I have natural hair, so I don't really have to worry about my hair too much. But I've met some really awesome people doing it.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. Who is your shiro?
Well, honestly, I don't
Because
have
you did a
one.
series on your, you did a series for like several
Mhm,
months, I believe, on your
mhm.
Instagram talking about different shiros, and I'm
Well,
like, I can't pick one.
I don't have one, honestly, because every woman speaks to a different facet of who I am. There are different things that I want to aspire to be and to aspire to do. And there isn't like one set person. Like Michelle Obama is awesome, but she has her area of expertise. Maya Angelou is awesome, but she has her area of expertise. You know, Tracy Ellis Ross, her personality is just like bigger than life, but that's a certain sex. So each one of these women and those that I featured, you're speaking of on my Instagram, I do our beauty standard. And I
Yeah.
haven't been doing it so much just because life, but that focuses on recognizing the beauty of Black women and resetting our standard because we've operated so long in the standard of the European context that just doesn't fit us. No matter how hard we try, it doesn't matter what we wear or how we shape ourselves, it's not us because every morning we wake up and look in the mirror and there's a little tan. We can't get rid of this tan. So
Yeah.
we can't necessarily say that this is who I am. I need to look like, no, just be you. And so I'm showing, I wanted to show women that were in various ranges. And I know people have the whole natural hair against weave thing. You do what you do. You do what makes you feel good and what makes you feel beautiful. Because in the grand scheme of things, none of that matters. Because when you leave this planet, it's your happiness that's important. Everybody else is just, yeah, okay, they'll be all right. Because you'll be a thought and then you'll be forgotten. As harsh as that sounds, it just is life. It's fact of life. So live your
Yeah.
life the way that you want. So I don't necessarily have one woman that I necessarily look up to. My grandmother was a very big part in my life. She raised me most of my childhood, just like a lot of Black families, you know. And my temperament, I think, is a combination of my grandmother and my dad. It's weird. It's a weird combination because my mother, she can go like that. And I'm just like, okay, I see you though. I know you. You've shown me, as Maya Angelou would say, you've shown me who you are. So I now know who you are. But the person that I am, I'm still going to treat you like I treat everyone else. I'm just not going to necessarily go that extra mile that I would do because, you know, you've let me know that, yeah, you don't really appreciate it. So you'll be all right.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Um, since we talked about college, what
Mhm.
are your thoughts on free college?
Actually, there are too many other countries around the world that offer you to be able to go to school without having to pay. I honestly believe it is something that should happen. There are a lot of things that we need that are social structures that need to be placed in this country. Just because we've allowed the income and the inequity in earnings to become so great, it's just ridiculous. It should not cost you a house to go to school. And I know that people will say you can go to a different school or this, that, and other, and all this other stuff. And that is true. But there still should not be people in this country that have to pay a house note to go to school. It's just
Mm.
ridiculous. It really is. And if you think about the purpose behind educating folk, you get past the, oh, it should cost this. No, if I educate you, right? That means when I get old, because it's going to happen, when I get old, I can trust that there are some educated people making educated decisions about what's going to happen with the rest of my life. There are things that young folk we don't necessarily think about. We don't think about Social Security, right? Social Security is not secure anymore because of the decisions that have been made in the last several decades. And it may not be there when we get to the point to be able to use it. Though we're putting money into it, it might not be there. And that's because they've had people that have made decisions that they were educated, but educated in a way that's best suited them and not necessarily suited the greater good. So when you educate folks, and there's this thing going around called anti-intellectualism. It's been going on for several years now, and it is a philosophy of thought that that being intelligent is inherent, it's bad. It creates a negative, and it goes against being college educated or just educating yourself in general, because you don't necessarily have to be college educated to become educated. We now have the internet. It wasn't like when I, because I'm that exennial generation where I know what it's like not to have the internet. I know what it's like to have dial-up, and I know what it's like to just flip on your phone and like, oh my God, it's all there, right? You have the world in your hands. We don't necessarily teach you that phone that you have is a tool that opens you up to the universe, but that's really what it is. You don't necessarily have to go to college because everybody's not a college person. There are several courses and MOOCs and different things where you can do free online stuff and learn things. It's out there. But you cannot stay stagnant. You cannot have gone through K-12 and taken on the concept that I hate learning. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that happen when you're going through elementary, middle, and high school, it pushes you towards disliking learning. This pushes you towards that anti-intellectualism. Because I'm learning all this crap. What am I going to do with it, right? There isn't as much integrating real-world experiences and ideas into the learning. So, kids are like, yeah, whatever. I go because I have to, because my mama might go to jail if I don't go to school, not because I love learning. And I hate that. That's why I'm in education. My mom, my dad, my grandmother, education is just what we did. It wasn't a thought. It wasn't, when I was little, it wasn't necessarily, if I was going to go to college. Like I said, it's not for everybody, but in my house, it wasn't whether or not you were going to go to college. It was what college you were going to go to.
Yeah.
And that's just how I was raised. And working in education, going through some of the things that I experienced in elementary and middle school made me understand how important, how deathly important being a learner really is. And like I said, you don't have to go to college to be a learner. You should always be learning, always. Read. As they said, if you want to have something from us, put it in the book, right?
Ooh.
The statement is true, though. And it's not just Black people. It's people in general. Because I was looking at something that said that, the average American is about 5th grade level on reading and things of that level. And that's not great.
It's not.
That speaks very poorly of our educational system. But it does explain a lot of the things that are allowed to happen. It explains how people can be so easily swayed. Think about somebody that's a 5th grade. They're a 5th grader. They're about 10, maybe 11 years old, depending on when their birthday was. How much stuff they believe? How easy is it to just like steer them off to something crazy? If you don't value learning, you end up believing anything. I know there's the saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. It's the same thing with learning. If you aren't one to actually learn on your own, you're apt to believe anything that they put by you that sounds good. Because there's a lot of ways to make information sound good and sound right and sound accurate. But if you aren't willing to look up on your own, we are where we are because of that.
Very, very fascinating. That was a whole sermon. Thank you for taking me to church. Twice
so I will
today.
get on the soapbox and not get off. I just, it's areas that I'm passionate about. So
you have a business, Dukari's Gems. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yay. So talk to us about that.
Okay, so that's my mom's fault. My mom is an entrepreneur. She has had a decorating business probably since the mid-90s or so, somewhere in there. And we have all been her employees. You know what I mean? And so she's always done things to make sure that she could do. You know, my father was there. This was, you know, it's something that she loved to do. She didn't necessarily have to do it because I was blessed to have both parents in my home. But it's something that she enjoyed. She's a phenomenal decorator. So she decorates weddings and events, right? And so she was like, you need to sell jewelry. Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. You know, black home. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, and Sukari means sweet in Shona. I am married to a Zimbabwean man, and their native language is Shona. And we were playing around with names if we were to have children. And we thought about, well, he chose Sukari Mishon. And Sukari, like I said, in Shona means sweet. And my mother wanted to name the business that in honor of a grandchild that does not exist yet. But, you know, Black people, we do these
Right.
things. You know, we do these things. And so it is a jewelry business. It is costume and fashion jewelry. I haven't, like I said, life, I haven't put as much energy into it, especially now with everything that's going on. When I did my soft launch, we opened up at Black Market, which is a event that they host here in Houston. And it's just Black businesses. And so we did pretty well that day. But I would need to, you know, of course, get the pictures, put stuff online to start trying to sell online, but that takes time. And there's this dissertation that I'm supposed to be writing. Right. So when I get that done, you know, I'll get to focus more on that. But I do want to have an arm of it where I am making jewelry, because with my mother's creativity, she did pass that on to me. I can't do floral design like her, but I can make some costume jewelry like it ain't nobody's business. So I do want to venture off and have that facet where there is some custom pieces that are made that people can buy or request for commission. And it's just something that we're doing. You know, you always want to try to have different streams of income, different revenue coming in, because life happens, you know, especially like now with the pandemic. How many people have lost their job, not because they weren't good employees, but because they literally can't go to work, or companies have put hiring freezes on. So that job you had lined up, it's on hold or indefinitely, and you have no idea what's going to happen next. So if you can, because entrepreneurship too is not for everyone. But if you can find a spot to slide in, go on, slide in.
I love that. I love that advice. I love it. Okay. I'm gonna ask that last. Okay, so you did a podcast on how we allow society to dictate our self-value and relationships all at the same time. What are your thoughts on society? What are your thoughts on how society rules our minds?
Well, okay, so I have to go back to my beliefs, right? You have to have a spiritual base, because if you do not have a spiritual base, you are very much so open to be swayed by any and everything, right? Growing up, like I told you, I grew up in a holiness church and everything. So that made me quite different from all of my other classmates. I didn't wear pants. I still don't wear pants because, you know, it's personal choice now. But religiously, you know, my church was one that you did not wear pants as a female. And I can't stand them. I'm not a pants person.
No, I honestly hate wearing jeans.
I don't understand how people do it. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I can't do it. Give me a skirt and my breeze. I'm just saying. But that made me different, right? That made me odd, because I didn't go to all the parties. I didn't act the way everyone else acted. We did not behave the way that most other people our age did. I already was a little bit old for my good. You know, I'm one of those old soul type people. So I was already a little bit like, I like to live. So what y'all doing over there? No, because my mama crazy. I like to live. I like to breathe and experience life. So that's okay. I'm gonna be over here. Watch y'all. Y'all go ahead and do that. But my religious beliefs, my spiritual system made me okay with being different. I was also extremely intelligent, or I am extremely intelligent. I was the straight A student. You know, mother had the expectation, you are not bringing a B into this house. So that's the kind of life that I lived, right? And that too makes you different, because in the Black community, unfortunately, being smart is not always seen as a positive, right? So all of those things and my religious beliefs prepared me for what I'm dealing with as a woman. I had relaxed hair at one point because my mom grew up in the generation that that's what you do.
Yeah.
I think my mom started relaxing my hair when I was like 6 or something like that. But my mom was also a licensed cosmetologist. So this wasn't just some, hood hairdressing. Mother knew exactly what she was doing. But I made the decision about 2001 that I was going to return to natural because it was just too much. I did know how to relax my own hair and everything, but I have the type of hair texture that just frizzes no matter what. I don't care how long I sit under the dryer, and I live in Texas. No, it's just too much work, right?
No.
So I said, you know what? That's okay. I had to transition with my mother because mother wasn't on the transition tip at first either, so I had to like win her over. But doing that allowed me to let go of things that I didn't know I held on to, right? I didn't know that I was constantly comparing myself to a standard, like I said before, that's just not mine. It's not me. And that's what you get from everywhere. Males and females, we constantly get this barrage of things about what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to do things, how we're supposed to act, instead of just being ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You go through high school and stuff like that, and you have the cliques and all of that, and you're expected to be like the other people. And I'm like, I've never been like the other people, like never. Like my siblings either. We're kind of just really different. We've never just been like everyone else. It just is what it is. And I think that's my mom and my dad, probably more so my dad, because my dad was a little odd. But he loved life, and he taught us to love life, and he taught us to just be who we wanted to be. So it's harder, though, for our young people and for even folks that are my age to break away from that, because society says you're supposed to be a certain way. There's a certain kind of black. Black is black is black is black to me. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you as light as white sheet of paper. If you got some blackness, you're black. I don't care if you as dark as midnight. You're black. It doesn't matter what you do because you're black. There isn't a thing that makes you black. We do have cultural aspects that we learn. We all code switch, and there are those different things, but we don't all have the same black experience. So you can't pigeonhole any of us. You can't say that, well, just because, she's light skinned, that she doesn't know what it is to be black. It depends on the environment that she's in. She might be light skinned, but she's been around all of these Caucasian or white people, and they know that she's an other, and they truly treat her just as much as they would in a negative way someone that was darker, because they automatically know that she is. Now, yes, granted, there are those that have the opportunity to pass and are ambiguous because they don't understand that we come in every range and shade and color. There was a young lady that was talking to my younger brother once, and she came up to him and was talking crazy, and he's like, I think you think I'm white. Because whatever she was saying was something negative about black people. And he was like, I think you think I'm white. My brother is not that light skinned. This is letting you know that, their perception of us is completely skewed. So we have to be extremely careful with how we deal with colorism because of that. We can very easily cross that border of sounding very much so like they did when they looked at us. Because you can't police a person's blackness, right? Mm-hmm. You have to allow yourself to be who you are in whatever that is. That if you like anime, I like anime, you watch your anime. If you like listening to classical music, I like listening to classical music, and I play the piano. I'm going to listen to my classical music, and I'm going to play the piano. I want to learn how to play the violin. I wanted to do ballet. My dad was one. He was like, yeah, my sister did it. She didn't do nothing with it. You don't need to do it. Okay, Dad, whatever. But, you know, I love all of those things. I love the arts. I live in Houston purposefully so I can be exposed to different cultures and different foods and different events because there's so much that happens here. I'm not going to always just be in my neighborhood around only Black people because the world is bigger and more beautiful than just us. We're fantastic. I love being Black. I don't want to be nothing else. But we can't put ourselves in a bubble because when you put yourself in a bubble, one, you leave yourself open to the perceptions of others and you start internalizing that stuff. And two, you don't allow yourself to learn new things. I've worked here in Houston. Right now I'm working at Lone Star College, University Park, but I've worked in Spring School District in Houston. And we have a science museum, history museum, art museums, beautiful parks, zoos, and all that good loveliness. A bus ride downtown from where I live. I've met students that have never been to any of those venues, and it's right down the road. And some of them have days that you can go for free. But because they're not taught that that's something that we do, they don't do it.
Yeah.
So that's how society pins us down and we allow it to happen. And it's easy to do. It's really easy. It really is because life happens. Like right now, we have COVID going on. We're trying to make sure that we can keep the lights on. We got water. We got air because it's Texas, you need air. We got some gas and we got a car. There are these things that you're focused on. And because you're focused on that, you don't really have the time to go do that other stuff. You don't have the time or the energy to say, you know what, let me go and sit down and read this to my child right now. Because you're worn out because you just spent a 12-hour day on your feet. And you spent another couple of hours in traffic. It just is what it is. Something has got to give. You know, it's hard. I'm not saying that, I'm not speaking from a high and lofty. No, I know it's hard. I know it's extremely hard because I've seen these families. I've worked with these families. And it sucks that we have so much that's available to us, but because of what's going on, we can't get to it. And so we end up falling into the stereotypes that other people think that we are. Not because we don't want to. A lot of times we honestly don't know.
Yeah.
And my mentor would say, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't. You do not know what you don't know. You don't know that I really need to expose my children to this because even if they don't go off to college, the exposure might introduce them to someone else. See, that's the thing about college that people miss. A lot of college is networking. That's why the more expensive, the Ivy Leagues, why people want to go there because they have these networks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll get a job faster by knowing somebody that works there than you will for having the credentials to work there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you never get to branch out from your little bubble, how are you going to meet these people? Right? So that's how society, I think, shapes a lot of what we do and we don't do. And a lot of it, there are so many different layers to it. There is the economic issues, like I mentioned. If you don't have the money to have the time to be able to explore, you're not going to explore.
Yeah.
Because you can't. It's not because, like I said, it's not because you don't want to. Most of the parents that we've worked with, they want the best for their children just like anyone else. They just may not know how to help get that. They may not have the time. And their schools might not have the resources to make it happen. Because remember, schools get funding from taxes. If you are in an economically disadvantaged or a low socioeconomic area, there are a lot of taxes going to that school.
Yeah.
They only get so much from the state. So all of these different things, it's all related. It's all so related. And it all really goes back to funds and finances, honestly. It really does. Everything that every almost everything that Black people have faced, I believe, could have been alleviated if we had the economic means to live the life that we wanted to live. Look at your stars, right? A lot of them don't look like they're aging. Now, of course, Black don't crack,
Yeah.
but it's also extremely helpful when you can eat healthily.
Yes.
When you can go and get away from all of the crazy, you can take vacations, you can explore the world, you can de-stress and do a lot of self-care. Stress is one of the number one killers of us. Yes, we have all those other things that, heart disease, diabetes, all the other good stuff, right? We have all of that, but a foundation of that is stress. If you're constantly living from check to check, you are constantly living in a state of stress, whether you know it or not.
Yes. Yes.
And so it all feeds in itself. I mean, economic freedom is the best way to combat a lot of the things that we're faced with.
Yes.
It really is.
So on top of all the other amazing, oh wait, no, I had a question other than that. You said piano, anime. What's your favorite anime?
Oh, I don't really have a favorite. I watch so many different things because I have so many varied tastes. I really do. I'm weird. I have varied tastes. I just finished up the newest episodes of Sword Art Online. Let's see, what else was I watching? I just binge watched, what is it, Restaurant from Another World or something like that?
Never seen that
Any
one.
and everything. It is, and I may be giving you the wrong name because I am horrible with names, but the premise is there is a door that shows up in this alternate world, and the inhabitants of the alternate world go through the door, and it takes them to a modern day Japanese restaurant. And so they're eating like our cuisine, and it's just cute. It's just cute. It's one of those time killers. It is. It's cute. I've watched all of, what is it, Card Capture, Sakura, Sailor Moon.
Of course.
You have everything. You kind of have to. One of my favorites, though, and I need them to go ahead and do like another couple of seasons of this, is, what is it? Irregular at Magic School or Magic High School, something like that.
I've heard of it.
It's good.
I haven't seen that one.
That speaks to like I said, there's multiple sides of me. So that speaks to the science nerdy geeky side of me, because it's a little sciencey, but there's some magic, So I like that. But I have so many things like on my watch list on Crunchyroll. Is just it runs the gamut. I just watched The Eighth Son. There's that one. Any and everything. I don't really watch the sports ones like my brother. He likes the sports ones, but I like those that are like fantasy. Some that are line more gamey, might have a little fighting in it. I love magic and stuff like that because I like mythology. I grew up reading a lot of mythology, so that like appeals to me. So it's varied though. I go from up, down, and around in a circle. It just, if it looks good and I start watching it as good, I'll keep watching. That's kind of how this works.
Period.
So like I've done the Bleach, Naruto, all of that.
Naruto, yes. So other than all the other amazing things that you do, on top of that, you also have a food blog. No, wait.
Oh no, that's my siblings.
Yeah, that's all me.
That's them.
It's kind of
that's them other green kids.
But it's all
that's the other green kids.
It's all of us together, I guess. I don't know. I'm a tag along because my brother's a foodie. Like he has a phenomenal palate. He can literally eat something and tell you pretty much everything's in it like right then. So he likes to eat. He pretty much cooks for us most of the time because whatever. I'm not gonna cook if I gotta cook in the house. I'm just not. I'm
What's your favorite thing to eat?
What is my favorite thing to eat?
I mean, you got seafood. I mean, that's always there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a meat eater. I am totally a meat eater. I am. It's kind of bad. I'm a meat eater. I've only really started eating vegetables in my older, like 30s, because I have to. But
'Cause
I
I
love
have to.
meat. But our background, our family background is from Louisiana, so it's very much so Creole Cajun. So we do a lot of seafoods. So I love seafood, but I don't necessarily really have a favorite food. I'm one of those people that I can't pick one thing. The only thing I have as a favorite is like my color. My favorite color is purple. That's about it.
That's what
That's the only thing I can set on is the color purple. That's
the
it.
color.
Everything else is just
Classic.
it's why I don't have a tattoo, really, because I can't decide on one thing. The next day I would want something else because I like too many things. I really do.
So, you've been married for over 5 years.
Mhm.
What's the secret to a happy marriage? Oh, is that funny?
I'm laughing at my
Is
brother.
that
I'm laughing at my brother.
funny?
Okay. Truthfully, this is my second marriage, right? So I will be real. Um, there's no real secret, right? There really isn't. Um, if you look at your relationship to a degree, like you would a business partnership, that
Yeah.
helps. Because the things that, if you think about it, would you want your business partner making some financial decision about your business without your input?
No.
Why would you want your marriage partner to do the same? Right? Why would you want them to just go off and do something without y'all talking? It's not asking for permission. You're a business. Remember, I talked about those finances, right? You both
Yeah.
have to be on one accord where your money is and how it's being spent. Because if you're not, something getting spent and somebody gonna get mad.
Yeah.
And then you gotta fight. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So that also goes into what everyone says, the cliche is communication. Say what you want. Don't try to hint. Don't nudge. I actually have a list on Amazon that's a wish list that I share with my husband, that I put stuff on that he can go and get whatever. If he want to get me something, he can get it off the list. Why? Because it's easier than, because everybody's not like my mom is a gifter, right? And so my siblings and I, we were raised gifting. That's not our love language, but we know how to give gifts because that's what my mom did. So we pay a little extra attention to just little things that people wouldn't normally realize that, they've said or they've done, that helps you be able to, get gifts for them. Everybody doesn't have that skill set.
No.
I'm not going to go into a relationship and expect someone to just be able to do that for me. Make life easy. Made my list, shared it with them. He won't give me something. There you go. And that way you always get something I want. I don't know when you got it, so it's still a surprise. And we're both happy. See, it works. But that's being, I guess it's just being extremely open and extremely honest. It's one of the foundational things to the relationship. There's also a need to be, like the Bible says, you shouldn't be unequally yoked, right? A lot of people just think that means spiritually, but that also means in a lot of other ways. That means in kind of like overall philosophy of life, how you want to do things. Like if you didn't have the conversation about having kids, one of you want to have kids, the other one don't. Y'all really should have talked about that beforehand.
More. Yeah.
So it all, I guess that's the secret. And it's the same thing that everyone else says. Communicate. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
Always. And be honest, right? You do have to take the other person's feelings into considerations. And sometimes it's best to just hold your tongue because you already know this is not the day. But don't sit in unhappiness because it festers and it becomes something worse. It leaves you open to other things. It leaves you open to temptation. It leaves you open to all kinds of other crap that's just not necessary.
Yeah.
If the person is not meeting the need that you have, and you have honestly talked to them about it and they're choosing not to meet that need, as long as it's not something like psychopathic, you know. I'm not saying do everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's a give and take, right? You have to actually have the conversation about it. Why doesn't the person want to do it? They should be able to articulate to you why they don't want to do it. If it is something that truly bothers them, then, but there are very few things in life that are really like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we enter into relationships and we expect the person to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is not how they work. Like, we learn to do everything else in the world but be married and raise kids. Somehow we're just supposed to know how to do this. No. Because just like you're at work and they have professional development on how to be a collaborative team, you need that professional development in your relationship, because you don't know. Every human is different. And if you're still learning, you're going to change. You're not going to be that person 20 years ago today. I would hope you're not going to be that person from 20 years ago today.
You would hope.
You know, there are some people that don't grow, you know.
Several came to mind.
But you know, and but because of that, that means that you have to actively love each other. I don't know. Kendall might be trying to slide his head over in a second. I don't know. Okay, he's over here bothering me. But you do have to actively love someone.
Yeah.
It doesn't come natural as people want to. The naturalness of it, I think, is just wanting to do it, right? Not that you know how to do it. Just wanting to be loved and show loved may be the natural thing, right? But being able to do it, that's learned, because every person is different, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Gary Chapman has the book, The 5 Love Languages. I totally subscribe to that all the way. There are people who are cross-sectional and there are more than one love language. I am primarily, my brother's over there. I'm primarily physical touch and quality time. And my husband swapped. He's quality time and physical touch. So it's not so bad. Yeah, it's not so bad. But there are levels to this, and every quality time and every physical touch is not the same. But that's where that communication comes in, because there are levels to this, right? What he may consider a good physical touch thing may not be a good physical touch thing for me. Right? And so it's why you have to let go of a lot of what you may have had or held on to or learned from a previous relationship, because that person that you're with now is not that person that you were with before at all. There are some base things: learning to communicate, learning how to control your temper, learning to be patient, you know, all those those are base skills.
Yeah.
But when it comes to loving that person, you're starting over from scratch, completely and totally. Throw out everything that you knew. You can try some things, see if they work. And then if not, you adjust, because it's a choice. Love is truly an action. So, but I don't really say that there's like a secret other than maybe just talk. If you want it, ask for it. If you don't, tell them you don't.
Yeah.
Do not sit in there and just do stuff because, oh, well, I think no, because you're going to end up unhappy. They're going to end up unhappy and you're going to end up unhappy. And that's how relationships end up ending, because we didn't really talk about what we did and didn't want in the first place.
Yeah, I know that. Gosh, I honestly wish I knew you. I wish I knew we had this talk a year ago. Honestly.
Okay, it's a life lesson and you learn, and then you can share with other people. So it all has its purpose. It all has its purpose.
Can I make you my sister?
Sure. We adopt people all the time. Okay, so you have to understand our family. My grandmother lived in what they call the projects in Port Arthur, which now, you know, being much older and knowing what real projects are like, you know, the projects, it was just some apartments that had sections that were for low income individuals if they needed. That's about it, right? But my grandmother was one that she always took in other people's children. She was always watching folks' kids, always. She just had the biggest heart. That's just what she did. And that was passed on to my mom, and therefore passed on to us. We adopt people all the time because, you know, we know people need love and we have a lot of love to give. That's just what we do. We do that.
So we have about 5 minutes left. Can you tell us where we can like you, follow you, stalk you, all that fun stuff?
Oh, I do have to do a shameless plug. Okay, so on the instructional tip, right? So over on Twitter, if you follow at Black in STEM, STEM, ed, ED, hashtag, right? We are doing a week this coming week where we're talking about Black people in STEM education. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. These are areas that have more recently traditionally not been areas that we were strong in as Black people. So we are featuring educators who are working in STEM and talking about how that affects our lives as Black folk. So that's that. You can follow me on Instagram.
Black and STEM or Black in STEM?
In STEM. Hold on, I'm gonna type it in the message, I think.
Okay, perfect.
Put it in the message. I'm doing this while I'm talking to you on the phone, so don't be looking at my news. Black in STEM Ed. There you go. Right there. I shared it in the comments. Really, Kendall? So if you want to follow me, my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle are the same. It is at Kienia, Kieniam. So for both. And you can look me up on Facebook. You might have to send me a message on Facebook because I lock that down because, you know, I don't need everybody in my business. You know how that goes. But my Instagram and my Twitter are open because I use those for both my modeling and just to promote Blackness.
And final question, I think we have about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
How do we make Black America great?
Oh. First, accept that we are great. Second, be okay with learning. Be okay with not knowing. But don't stay ignorant. It's okay to not know. It's okay to admit that you don't know. But don't stay that way. And third, invest in our own. Stop tearing each other down. Stop saying, oh, well, you know, that's why I don't do Black businesses. But you do all those other businesses over and over again. No matter how many times they mess you over, you still go back. One Black business is not every Black business. So you cannot use the same mentality that has been used against us, where you have that one Black person that works at the job and they didn't do a great job, so I'm never going to hire another Black person. That's what that sounds like. And if you don't want them to do that to you, don't do that to your own people. Because all that money that we keep shelling out to everybody else, we need to keep in our own community. We do. That's the three things. My brother's shaking his head over here. Yeah.
Approved. Well, thank you so much for procrastinating with me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I appreciate the opportunity.
You really, man, I believe in, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I believe that in other lives, and I'm hopeful that maybe like old Ashley is maybe hearing this subconsciously and she's making a different decision and doing another path while I do this path, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It does. It does because, you know, you have to look, science nerd. Remember, science nerd. So there's divergence, there's alternate realities, there's different universes, there's different timelines. So yes, I completely and totally understand. But the current Ashley can take exactly what she has now, because it is never too late to start doing what you want to do for yourself. Never, ever too late. The only time it's too late is when you're dead and gone.
Yes.
Then, you know, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was so good. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying thank you. Okay.
There's the brother. Look, there's the brother.
Hey, brother. You're so funny. All right, you guys have a good one. Eat something good
You
for
too,
me.
sweetheart. I am. I think he's fixing some spaghetti. So, you know, hey.
Yeah, something cheap, something fast.
Yeah.
Send photos.
But the meat is seasoned. So, you know. Bye, love.
All right, bye.
Thank you.